Welcome to the Samson Strength Coach Collective. On today's episode, we have Jeannette Krupp. Jeannette is honestly an amazing person. It was fantastic to speak with her and hear her story. This is not going to be the traditional podcast. We're going to talk about Jeanette's organization, Stay Strong Krupp, and what it means to her, what her goals are with this organization, what she wants to do in the future with it. I think it's an amazing message. I am very excited to be able to speak about this message on this platform and then show how Jeannette gets her message across through fitness, which is something that pretty much every listener here can do as well with their own message that they want to deliver to the world. So I appreciate Jeanette's openness and speaking with us about this. I'm really excited for the listeners to be able to have the opportunity to listen to our conversation. Um, I think it will make a lasting impact, and hopefully you can be able to support Jeannette as well in her mission. So, as always, thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy. What's going on, Samson Strength Coach Collective listeners? On today's episode, we have Jeannette Krupp. Jeannette and I have already gotten to speak just a little bit, and I think it's going to be a really good episode. And I think we're going to talk about something very, very vital in my opinion today. So I'm excited to speak with you. But your official title, and just so our listeners can know who you are, head strength and conditioning coach at Denton High School, but also founder of Stay Strong Krupp, which we'll be mostly talking about today. So thank you so much for coming on. Absolutely. Like I said, I'm just really excited to enter this conversation with you today. Usually I talk with the guests just a little bit before they come on, and I think it was a really enlightening conversation with you. So I'm excited to dive into a little bit more and have our listeners kind of hear about your story. But
Thank
just
you.
to start, can you give us your background in lifting, strength and conditioning, and then what's brought you to what you're currently doing?
Okay. Again, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I'm excited. So, long story short, I have been in something to do with fitness my whole entire life. It is my life. It's always been my life. It's been my safe haven. I started dance, tumbling, acrobatics when I was 3 years old. So,
Wow.
that was my love. That's my passion. I'm an acrobatic coach, or sorry, I don't coach anymore. I judge now.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So I'm a judge, coached for years, but I'm a judge. And now my niece is doing what I used to do.
Very
She's
nice.
15. Her trio's like top 5 in the world. So it's
Wow.
amazing. But that was my love. I was a 7-time national champion. We were, hoping and praying to go to the Olympics. It's still not in the Olympics. It's a part of the USA gymnastics. So that go international. And that was my love. So it went from there through high school. I did track. I was all state track, played volleyball and basketball. My senior year, I had to go and play club volleyball because I decided to go on and I played at Liberty University.
Oh, wow.
And so volleyball is what I played through college. After graduation, I was coaching volleyball and teaching elementary school, coaching volleyball, high school. And I went to, 3 different high schools I had coached at. And then I went to junior college level. And during that time, I was getting my master's degree in sport management,
Wow.
which led me then to work at Mercy Hospital as the health and wellness coordinator. And I was doing that for 3 years, still coaching volleyball at the private school. And during that time is when someone came up to me at the gym and was like, "Do you compete in bodybuilding?" And I said, "No, I don't." And that is just kind of the starter of how it happened. So I started competing. I was in the fitness category because I love to do the acro, the tumbling, the dance. So it just kind of naturally went along with my lifestyle. And that's what I did. Started competing and um, became pro, IFBB fitness pro in 2014.
Wow.
And so that was kind of that. And then from there, I got called from Texas and said, "Hey, would you like to be a strength and conditioning coach? We're going to start having strength and conditioning coaches in our high schools." And I couldn't believe it. Coming from Missouri, we do not have that still. So they said, you're going to work with the UIL athletes. We're going to have one at each of our high schools. We have 4 high schools in Denton. And I just was so excited. Couldn't wait. It's a dream job. And so I've been here now starting my 9th year.
Amazing.
Yep.
You've stayed quite busy.
Very busy. Along with that, a single mom. My son is 19 now. So
Oh
Yeah,
my
I've
goodness.
coached him.
How's it
Yes.
been to see your niece kind of, follow in a similar sport?
Um, Very, very touching actually,
Yeah.
because as we'll speak on later, everything that's gone on with my brother. So now watching her, is kind of like her safe haven also
Mhm.
for everything she's gone through so young in life, and to lose, her father. Um, I see her acro is kind of keeps her with that foundation, that strong family around her, that love in her life. And, for me, that's what sports has done for me throughout life.
Mhm.
So it's that mental health part too.
Well,
That
absolutely, and I think that's what people can sometimes forget about sport and, any type of fitness in general is that it can be a release, and then the team aspect, that can be your true family.
definitely, I always try to remind myself. Some days when an athlete comes in, maybe with a bad attitude, something going on, just to remember, life is happening for them
Mhm.
also. And so sometimes they need that weight room that day more than anything. And just to remember that. So,
No,
yeah.
certainly, and,
Mhm.
it's interesting because the more I talk with strength coaches, obviously, we all use fitness as a release and something to, help us and keep us grounded, and then we kind of forget that sometimes the athletes we work with too, that even the weight room outside of sport can just be the thing that gives them a break from their sport, which may be the biggest stressor in their
Mhm.
life at that
And with
point in time.
school going on,
Yeah.
finals like right now, I
Yep.
had several that are like, man, I wish we could just come in and work out. They're stressed. And so, I like to hear that because I try to talk to them about that. Like, this isn't just for now. This is also when you're going to be 40 years old, where
Yes.
you have kids, you're married, and things aren't going right. Just always remember, to go and take care of yourself. Get
Mhm.
into that weight room, get into the gym.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what I love about the high school strength and conditioning career as well too, is because, at a collegiate level, it's you're working with people who have a very specialized set of skills, and obviously they're
Mhm.
there for that specific sport. It's very even rare that somebody's a dual athlete. However, from a high
Mhm.
school standpoint, somebody may not have the talent to essentially progress to that next level, but this is something where you can still teach them these lessons, and they can have it for the rest of their lives.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
because I mean, there's only a small percentage that go on even to
yeah.
college to play. So, my goal is just, hey, and then they see my life experiences that I've gone through, and they see how I've used it. And so I just, not only try to tell them, but I try to show them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Mhm.
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
As we mentioned at the beginning, the biggest thing that I want to talk to you about today was Stay Strong Krupp. Could you just kind of, I mean, basically tell me everything? Yeah, I think it's important for our listeners to hear. So everything from the start, please.
Well, I'm ecstatic that you care so much about this because it sure is, a passion in my life now, through unfortunate situations. But I started the nonprofit in 2019. I use fitness events because what else am I going to use? That's what God's gifted me with. So I try to give back with the talent that I have. I use fitness events to bring hope, on substance use disorder and mental health. So I lost my cousin in 2016. He was a senior in high school, baseball player, and he overdosed on fentanyl. And during that same time, my brother was struggling with addiction, and he was going in and out of prisons, rehab facilities, sober home. And um, I just decided, why is no one doing anything? I just kept, why is this happening? Why is I see it everywhere? But, my hometowns hit hard by, the epidemic, between heroin, meth. It's just everywhere, Missouri. And I just was like, why is there nothing going? Why is no one doing anything? And then I decided, well, I guess I need to do something. Someone's got to start somewhere. But whenever it had originally came out, my brother was struggling. You go through all the emotions of don't say anything. It's embarrassing. It'll make the family look bad. He's going to get help. He'll get better. And none of that really did work. I would say what helped the most is actually finally be a voice.
Mhm.
And, my brother actually thanked me at times for being a voice for him. Sometimes he said, he felt silent, or just didn't know what to say. And so he appreciated me being a voice, for all those that sometimes just aren't heard, or looked at, down, looked at. differently, I guess you could say, or not with a lot of respect a lot of times. So, yeah, I took off and decided to ride a bicycle. And I did that because I've had hip surgery. So, along with, everything with the injuries, I've had three anchors in my right hip and one in my left hip. So my surgeon said you might want to get a bike. And that's when I started training on a bike. I am not a cyclist. I still say I'm not, though I have gone across the country now 450 miles 3 times.
I think you're a cyclist. Yeah.
I'm just mentally tough. That's what I say because I just don't stop. I don't know. I always say I don't stop when I'm tired. I stop when I'm finished. So
Wow.
that's what I did. But I had one other person from Denton, Texas follow me in a car the first year we did it. And we handmade signs, put them on the car. Those that were struggling with substance use disorder, those that we have lost. And I would announce their names every morning when we started the ride. And I ended up going from Cincinnati, Ohio, up to Indianapolis, Indiana, to Illinois, and I finished in Missouri.
Mm.
And the news stations caught on, radio shows, and I just started getting followed and started spreading the word. And it was touching of how many people supported me
Yeah.
that I didn't know. I just, everywhere I went, someone had a story. Everywhere I went. So gas stations are very popular that went, oh, what are you doing? And they'll see my car. Someone has a story. Someone's lost somebody. Someone's loved one is struggling. And for me, it's kind of been a healing process, if you can really heal from it. I don't know, for all of us that have lost someone to substance use disorder, mental health issues, I just always say you learn to live with the whole of your heart. You don't necessarily really heal. You just learn that life has to go on, but it's hard. And everywhere I went, there was people like me. So, I knew that I had to keep going. So I did that for 3 years. My brother rode in with me every year, except for the last one. He unfortunately passed in April 16th, 2021. So it's been just about 3 years. And I'm getting ready to ride again. I had another surgery. So I took last year off and I have just started training my body again. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm going to go from Amarillo, Texas, all the way to St. Louis, Missouri. I'm going to call it Carl's last ride. He was on his way home from Arizona. Unfortunately, they found him on a Greyhound bus, fentanyl, overdose on fentanyl, or I like to say he was poisoned. There was enough fentanyl to kill 20 people. He did not take that knowingly. It was given to him. So unfortunately, he passed away on a Greyhound bus. They found him in Amarillo. And I will be starting my ride in Amarillo, and I'm going to ride 750 miles to St. Louis, Missouri, and finish the ride that he was on.
Wow. Well, I mean, this is now the second time I'm hearing the story, right? But it's still just as impactful. And I guess the first thing I want to say is thank you. We talked about my experience. My father's been sober for over 30 years now.
I'm so proud of your dad.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'm so glad that it's worked out that way for you.
Yeah.
So you've been impacted by it.
Absolutely.
As so many children are right now.
And that's just the biggest thing too, is that this is somebody who falls into the category of what, people would traditionally consider an addict, right? And I mean, to me, it's my dad. And he's the most influential person in my life, hands down. There's nobody else. And so I certainly appreciate the work that you're doing. And I think the biggest thing is going to be the awareness aspect, right? Because my dad then became a drug and alcohol counselor, and was able to help people with substance abuse disorders. And the biggest thing that I recognize is that because people don't talk about it, the relapses that occur are just so unknown, because it's something uncomfortable to talk about, right? And it's something where obviously you're going to be in recovery for the rest of your life if you're struggling with these issues. And so it can feel almost like, with the stigma that surrounds it, if somebody is relapsing or it feels like they're about to relapse, they almost can't reach out to anybody, because it would be, obviously with a family member, the reaction wouldn't be the same, but, they could feel like, oh, it's just, of course you're back using again, or anything with a negative connotation versus seeking help. So, I mean, I think to me the raising awareness piece is massive. Is that probably the biggest mission of Stay Strong Krupp?
The first year was all about
Yeah,
just bringing awareness. The amount of awareness that I brought, it was, like I said, it was touching when I got to the finish line and I had people there to cheer me. Like, it makes me want to cry now
yeah,
because it's not even my closest family members or anything that are showing up for me. There's been people that I've never met that are at the finish line, waiting for me to get there. And they said they just want to give me a hug. They just want to, thank me because they have the same feelings or they've gone through the same thing and they don't have anyone to talk about or no one wants to talk about it. And then the other problem that I see, which I've seen with my family alone, and then I now go and speak at sober homes, rehab facilities. And, when I'm speaking to the person who has the addiction, they will say, usually most of their family have stop talking to them
mm,
or look at them differently. They don't respect them. They treat them different. And that's usually too, when I speak to families, you have part of the family that they just, no one knows what to do. There's not a right answer. So when I figured I can't figure out the answer. If I
yeah,
could, it would be great. But I have seen, let them fall flat on their face, the hard love. And, I would say that I think for my family, we went up and down of, okay, let's keep them at home. No, let's take them to rehab. No, let's just let them out on the street. What do you do? And the emotions that a family goes through, the my parents, for everything they have gone through, and this is just one chapter in the book. Um, they amaze me. They're probably the strongest people I know. But for some families, it's tough. It could tear them apart. I've seen it so many different ways, but I do know that now that my brother has passed, the one thing that I can say, I believe that my immediate family all says, just show them love because when they're gone, you're going to wish you did.
mm,
So just love them
yeah,
because there's not the right answers. Rehab doesn't work for everyone. It's you have to want it. And so, the hard love, let them fall flat on their face. Sometimes when you do that, they don't come back home. And that fall flat on their face is death. And, unfortunately, that was our family. So I don't know the answer.
yeah.
But I do know that I'm sure glad that I kept showing him love. He knew that I loved him.
Well, it's again, that's why I just think what you're doing is so important because it's dehumanizing for somebody to have an addiction, right? They become separated from who they are as a human being, and it's just
Mhm.
more about being an addict or somebody who struggles with substance abuse. And so
Just takes
ultimately,
over their life.
yes, yeah,
And my brother would even tell me, when he was clean, he would say a lot of the times, um, it was unfortunate that people felt you're picking that drug over your kids,
mm,
over your family. And he would say, like, in his head, it was always like two different categories. He felt that he had to have this to live, but that never made him not love his kids. He still loved his kids so much. And it was just completely two different categories to him.
yeah,
And he
and you're
didn't know
completely
how
torn.
to not have this one, but he always loved, his kids.
Yeah,
And so I could just see, how many battles they fight. And then that's what the mental health comes in. They go hand in hand, anxiety, depression. I have not met many that struggle with substance use disorder that do not also have some type of mental health issue now.
certainly they're.
Mhm.
I mean, almost always linked.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
it's a even larger conversation about how we actually treat mental health disorders in America as
Get
well.
into that. Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When you speak at sober homes or when you public speak, what is your primary objective?
Depending on who my audience is,
Yeah.
if I'm at a sober home or a rehab facility, um, what I'm told that I'm known for is I just try to make them feel loved. Um,
Mm,
I also am very blunt about it's your decision. You have to save yourself. I try to save my brother for so many years. I struggle still sometimes of just going to save him. the whole thing was about saving my brother and I didn't do it. So you have to realize you can't, they have to save themselves. So all I can do is show love and support, but they have to make the choice and they have to put the work in, and every single day it's work. Not just, oh, now I'm clean. Now I'm clean for a month. Any given day, you're going to wake up. And if you do not put that work in, you go right back to where you were. And so, when I go, at the sober homes, rehab facilities, I share my story. I share it from the perspective of a family and someone that's loved someone with an addiction. So a lot of times they'll talk about, the stupid things they did or the things they stole or hurting someone. And I'm like, yeah, that was me. I was one of those people that you did that to. So, this is how I felt. And then just know there's people who love you. And whether your family's supporting you right now, know that there are people out there cheering you on, that I want to see you do better. And I know there's a better life for you. And, but so when I go and speak, though, if I might be at a city council meeting, I've done that before, or just radio shows, the news, I just kind of go and I'm just bringing hope and awareness to the stigma and just how much, people are impacted by this.
Yeah.
So,
Again, I think I can't imagine the work that you're doing. I mean, first of all, from an emotional standpoint, it's very emotionally heavy for you as well. So I do appreciate you continuing to do this work, and certainly it's making an impact. I truly
thank you.
believe that. I think anybody who you're probably the biggest person I've had the most open conversation with about any type of substance abuse, except for my fiance and my dad. Right. And so
Wow.
those are,
Well, I'm honored that you felt that you
well,
could do that. Thank
of
you.
course, of course,
Mhm.
but that's the work that you do to open the door, right? To be able to have those conversations and understand. And I mean, even the shirts that you make, right? I mean, they're loud, and I would love for you to talk about those.
You should have brought it. Yeah. Fentanyl is killing my friends. And then I
Yeah.
put everyone. So I wear those around. I wear Stop Heroin shirts around. They're just normal to me.
Yeah.
Um,
But they
but
open the door.
yeah.
They open the door for
And
those
again, you
conversations.
realize how many people, oh my gosh, I lost a friend in fentanyl. Or oh, my son's struggling, my daughter's struggling. I mean, every time I wear one, that's what happens. So that's
Yeah.
what you can't tell me that this isn't something that needs to be discussed. You
No, I
know,
mean, certainly.
over 150,000 people, we've lost. That's the Cowboy Stadium filled.
Wow.
They have overdosed. They have died. This isn't the ones just even struggling. So all of those have a mom, a dad, a brother, a sister, kids. And, I always say if you're not impacted by it, count your blessings. You were truly blessed, but you might have children that they're sitting in a classroom next to a child who is, because the numbers are way too high to think that someone in your child's classroom is not impacted by this. And I guarantee you, I mean, it's getting to the rate of almost 50% of families, grandparents are raising the kids, an aunt and uncle, somebody, and for my mom and dad, they're in their 70s and they are raising now a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 15-year-old. I mean, they're heroes.
Yeah.
And to all those that are doing this, you're heroes. Really are.
And I think the biggest thing too that can come from this is people themselves actually, and addicts themselves actually opening up about it. Because again, I think this is just going to be breaking down the stigma behind it. And I think ultimately what surprised me the most was how many people are functioning addicts as well. And people who you don't realize are people who could be completely functional. You could work with them on a daily basis and you understand the addiction that they're facing. But in most of those cases, they don't seek help, and then they end up no longer being functioning addicts, and it's now completely taken over their lives. So I think it's something that is so large of an issue, and you may not realize even if it affects you. But when you speak about your child maybe sitting next to somebody who has been affected by this, you can never know when you could be speaking to somebody who is directly affected by it and who's currently an active user. And so again, I think there's so many different benefits of having the conversation. And that's why I was excited to actually talk about it on the podcast today, because yeah, this is a strength and conditioning podcast, but at the end of the day, this is something that, obviously fitness is directly tied into it, but this is a platform where we can speak about it and we can, hopefully whoever's listening, can actually see a benefit from it as well.
That'll be amazing. Like I said, again, I just appreciate you being open to talk about it because, gosh, back in 2014, when I started this, it wasn't always something that people wanted to talk about at all.
I'm sure people would, shy
I've
away
been
from
told
the
to
conversation.
be quiet before, and I've also been asked, why would you want to stop doing a lot of the fitness modeling or competing or whatever to focus on this?
Yeah.
And all I can say to that is, besides obviously being personally impacted by it, but I just don't know how there's anything wrong with trying to save a life.
Well, it's a higher calling, as you've mentioned. As you look towards the future of Stay Strong Krupp, what are some things that you're looking to do? What do you see as the future of your organization?
As you had mentioned a little while ago, just how emotional it is for me. Sometimes I act tough too, so I will admit that's a thing of mine. But you were correct. When my brother passed away, there was a moment that I did not know if I was going to continue. Every aspect of my soul did not want to. I just wanted to grow up in a ball and still go to work, still act fine. But when I got home, I still just couldn't believe, that he was gone. And I just spoke at a rehab facility for the first time since he's passed. And that was not even a month ago. So when I did, that was good for me. When I did that, I realized that the problem is I used to bring so much hope. And a lot of my speech was about hope because he was making it. He was going to rehab. He was going, whether he went to jail, prison, but then he had gotten out and he was making it. He was doing better. And so I would just say, keep going. There's so much hope. And that hope, was gone. So it was like my story had a completely different ending and I hadn't told it yet with the new ending. And the new ending isn't, sorry, that's my son.
Hello.
No.
Yeah. She's a great woman. Shout her out. Come on. Yeah.
Hey, he just became a certified trainer too.
Well, amazing. Okay.
Like his mama. Yeah, he just got his first clients this week.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Sorry.
No worries.
But yeah, he loves fitness too. So
wow.
But what I was saying is I didn't know if I was going to continue. But I received so many messages. I wish that I had time to open them up and people again that I did not know. But I'll never forget this one specific. He sent a picture and he had my bracelet on. So I'm trying not to cry. She don't cry. But my brother had given it to him at rehab facility in Arizona.
Wow.
And he messaged me and told me how sorry he was to hear of his passing. But he still wears his bracelet. And he said that my brother went down the hallways. And I remember my brother had asked me to sent him like 50 bracelets. And he just kept saying he was telling everybody about me. And he was just so proud of this. He'd always call me his sis. And his counselor there, after he passed, told me that he had walked around one night with my picture on his phone, showing everyone who his sister was and what I did. And this guy kept the bracelet, and he said he just wanted to let me know that my brother was very proud of me. And he talked about me all the time and how much he loved me. And his exact words were, I know that the point of the nonprofit where you were trying to save him. Unfortunately, he's not here, but know that you have saved others. Please don't stop. And so I pushed myself through, and this will be the first ride since done that. But so I'm trying. It's just that the story has changed, So I've been trying to figure out how do I bring a message of hope when I felt like my hope is gone now, because we lost him. But I've realized now that I still have to bring hope for other people because there's people like your dad who do make it. And, that makes me smile. So.
Absolutely. There's, that's the unfortunate piece too, is that the stories of people who do make it, can sometimes be overshadowed by the people who don't. And I mean, ultimately, I think, again, I can't thank you enough for the work that you are doing because as he mentioned, it may not have been for your brother, but it is for others, and it is for other families. And, as much as your family has been affected, those are other families that can benefit from the work that you're doing as well. For
Thank
people
you.
who are listening, what is a way that they could support you?
That would be great because, during COVID, everything shut down, and I just started this nonprofit on my own. I don't have anyone that helps me with grants or anything. I keep hearing there's lots of grants that I probably could have gotten. It is all women on my board right now. Another teacher, my mom, and then my marketing director is actually a journalist with, well, I better not say who with, but she's been a journalist and high up journalist for a while. And she just has a passion also to help. And we have just been trying to do this thing. So I pretty much just started it on my own, been doing it on my own to where I raise enough money to do my big bike ride and then go and speak at a couple places. That's about, and it's just been supporters. Everything that I've been able to do has been just from some family, close friends in my town, and then several supporters that I have that don't let me give up. Love them, but that's it. So we need to start fundraising. I plan to start August 31st in Amarillo and take off on the 750-mile ride. I am in the process of trying to contact schools. So if anybody knows any from Amarillo, it'll be like the Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Joplin, Springfield, Sullivan, Missouri, Union, up to St. Louis. Looking for anywhere to stop and speak. My website is staystrongkrupp, KRUPP.com. And there's a donation button on there, or just Stay Strong Krupp on Instagram, Facebook, get a hold of me. And if send a check, I mean, we'll take anything, any help. If you know any businesses, I mean, we can write it off for taxes. So I know that there's corporations that donate thousands to, nonprofits. That would mean the world. Cause we I've been asked to go and speak at schools like North Carolina, and I'm on a teacher salary as a single mom. So there's been some places that I've said I will love to if I'm ever in that area, but I can't be paying hundreds of dollars to be flying around. Now I would love to do that. But until the nonprofit gets built up, right now, we just try to get enough raised to do this big bike event across the country and speak. And so that's where we're at. Any help would be great.
Yeah. No, certainly. And so staystrongkrupp.com.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes. And it's
Excellent.
KRUPP.
Okay. Excellent. Again, we mentioned this is a strength and conditioning podcast. I think the story fits so well because it's you using your talents and your fitness gifts. And even if you may not believe you're a cyclist, you certainly are now, to raise awareness and kind of create this message that you're trying to get across to everybody. What would be, your message to strength and conditioning coaches who were considering doing something similar or affected by maybe not the same issue, but something else, and they're trying to raise awareness as well? What would your message be to them?
Do it.
Yeah.
Just take that first step and go. Because I'm still wondering how I ended up where I'm at now. I always say this was a purpose that found me, the calling that found me. 20 years ago, 10 years ago, I would have never said, oh, I'm going to be going across the country talking about substance use disorder and mental health. Never thought that I would lose my brother to an addiction. So things come to you sometimes. And if there's anything that's on your heart or something that you're talented with that you feel that could help others, because the way the world goes around is by kindness. Just kindness. So if there's something you're gifted with or that, has found you, just go for it. Do it. There's so much more to life than just lifting some weights. And I think that just is the foundation of what can help you.
I think that's the beauty of this, right? And that's, I think, where you can see different organizations use fitness as the conduit or, the way that they can actually achieve the goal that they're looking to achieve, And so I think that's why this is a very amazing story specifically for this podcast. Because again, this is something where we all have different talents, right? It may even be just a powerlifting meet, right? To help raise money or help fundraise.
That would be great. I
Yeah,
would love that. Hey, we even, my hometown, the bowling alley, Thunder Alley, they let us have bowling one time and they donated a certain percentage.
Really?
Yes. So it's like anything. And then a gym in my hometown, the parlor, they actually had their own little event that he was planning. And then he let me come and set up a booth and stuff because, again, just so supportive. And especially fitness, like-minded people, he was like, hey, what you're doing is amazing. And that is not easy. So, if you want to put a booth up, and at his event, he let me do that, try to raise money. I'm from a really small town out in Owensville, Missouri. We're talking like 2,500, 2 stoplights.
Wow.
So, but there's been some people in my community that have literally kept my nonprofit going, paid for the Airbnbs when I stop in the evening, sometimes on a bike for 10 hours a day. So when I get back, hotel or Airbnb, but the Airbnb worked great because I eat the specific way also. So when I would get in at night, I ice bath and then would eat the food that I needed and then crash and then get up early in the morning and take off again.
Wow.
So
I mean, the rides are not short. They're extremely physically demanding, I'm sure.
It's like 6 to 10 hours a day I'm on a bike.
Wow.
So,
oh my goodness. I think back to the longest I've been on a bike.
If you let me know. But I'm looking for riders too, because they could just do 10 miles, 20 miles, or a 50 mile. Or if anyone wants to do the whole thing with me, that would be great. But we have a car that follows. Okay. And so there's some people who were just taking pictures or some people just driving the car, so it takes a team.
Yeah.
So,
well, I guess the final piece that I was curious about is, has being vocal about your work opened up the door to work with any of, the athletes you work with or any individuals who, you may encounter on a daily basis and help them?
Yes.
Well, no, obviously no specifics, but
that's what I was like. Yeah. I can't tell you how much that keeps me going too. Like, why do you do what you do? Why do I use all my days of work to be gone for that, for that ride? That takes like all my days. But let me tell you, every day I go to school, I work with around 200 athletes in a week. I don't have to ask. I already know. The statistics would tell you that someone that I'm working with has lost their parent, brother, sister, uncle, aunt, or, one of their parents are incarcerated. And it has held true. I have had some great relationships with some of my athletes that have come and opened up when I started doing this. Last year on my highlight video, I think I received like 10 good luck letters when I had left, and some of the coaches brought them to me. I'm just so thankful that the coaches that I work with support what I do. And, some of those coaches were there when I lost my brother. I found out at work. So, I still remember falling in the corner of the weight room and my volleyball coach, being there for me. So to think that there's not athletes that are not impacted by this, I would just think would be unreal. And that's why for me too, my own school district, I'm just like, what I do to realize it's not just athletes that I work with on a daily basis are struggling with this. So it is, and that keeps me also like, okay, I can keep doing this. Yeah. There is a reason. And, but I have several, and I would say over a handful of athletes that have openly talked to me. And I have had some that give me a name for me to announce when I take off on my ride. We've moved up in the world, and I've had a sponsor that made like a magnetic thing for my car.
Wow.
when we drive, those that we have lost. And, some of their relatives are on that.
Well, so, I wanted to ask that because, again, I kind of see this as almost a call to action for other strength coaches who are listening here as well. It's, it's good to be vocal about issues that have affected you in your life, because you never know who is dealing with what outside of the weight room. And, you can have the best relationship possible with your athletes. Unless that door is open for them, they may never have that conversation. And you may end up being one of the very few outlets that they may have ever had, and
Thank
be
you.
able to speak with them. So, certainly I appreciate that, but I think it's something that is important for strength coaches and anybody else who happens to be listening to this to understand too, is it's good to be vocal about these things. It's good to be open because, again, you can open doors that may have been shut forever for some of these people. So it makes a difference.
A lot are told to be silent. And like I said, when this all originally started happening in my family, it was hush, don't talk about it, and that doesn't work.
Yeah.
And the more people that I started talking to, the more I realized is so many are impacted, just so many. And so, so for my athletes to be able to have someone to talk to, I still remember the first time that happened. Hey, Coach Krupp, can I talk to you later? And they came in and let me know that their dad was struggling and they don't see him anymore. And just how hard it was for them. But they didn't realize that other people were going through it. And it meant so much that they could talk to me.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, I mean, again, thank you. I can't say thank you enough. And I'm sure I'm saying thank you on behalf of our listeners as well, too. I mean, for everybody.
I thank you again for the opportunity. And I am not trying to put you on the spot, but growing up, I mean, my nieces can look up to you and know, you can make it. It's going to be okay. How was it for you as a child to now? Do you remember the emotions, or do you remember the impact that you had as a kid?
I don't remember it specifically. I do remember that there were many conversations around why our family looks a little bit different, or why my dad doesn't, because I remember I would ask things like, why don't you drink? Right. Because everybody else would have a beer and he would have water, and have those conversations with them. And to me, honestly, it was not something we ever really had a completely open conversation about until I was in my 20s. Because, it took so long for me to understand how much it really did affect my dad. Uh, because that was somebody who, to me, I've never seen struggle with anything like that. Right. It's always all my memories have been of him sober. And so it never really dawned on me that this is somebody who was really at some of the lowest points they could possibly be, and pulled themselves out of that. So, ultimately, I feel fortunate in that I didn't have that necessarily experience, but to then watch my dad work with people who are active in their addiction, and then understand and get to know this process at a way more intimate level, because we would run into his clients on the street, and sometimes they would be high when we spoke with them. And so ultimately, to see exactly how many people it affects, and how much of a difference it's made, has certainly affected me and made this obviously something that's very close to my heart. But, I think my message from my experience with my dad, and my experience as a whole, is just that you can't ever give up on somebody who is struggling with these issues, because, again, this is probably the most impactful person in my life. I love my mom to death too, right? But sometimes you just have a special bond, and that's a father, and that's somebody who's a father to my sisters as well, and not only helped us, but also helped hundreds of other people struggling with addiction issues, because that's what he found his calling as too.
It's an amazing story. Like I said, it's means a lot whenever I meet someone who has made it through, and for 31 years.
Yeah.
I'm proud of him.
Yeah.
So
we're actually
look
going.
how well he's done,
Yeah. Well, thank you.
You've turned into a great man.
Thank you. And we're actually, so this is a great story, right? This is good kind of final piece to this. We're going to Ireland tomorrow. We leave tomorrow, and it's going to be just me and him. Then,
oh, really? Just you two?
Yeah, just us. And then we're going to go to the Cliffs of Moher, and there I'm going to ask him to be the best man at my wedding. So, yeah, it's it just shows how impactful he is for me. Yeah.
See. Make me cry.
Yeah. I'm crying as well. Yeah. So, but I mean, seriously,
Wow, that's amazing.
obviously it's somebody who,
And
I mean, it wasn't a second
congratulations.
thought.
I mean,
Yeah.
did you
Thank you.
propose already?
Yeah, I've already
Okay,
proposed.
all right.
Yeah. My fiance is aware. Yeah. That we're getting married.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah,
No, but
congratulations.
that's the person who's impacted me the most in my life. So, no, I again, that's why I just appreciate your work so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I needed to hear this story. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Of course.
there's still hope.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, again, staystrongkrupp.com, KRUPP. If they wanted to follow you on social media, what is the account name again?
My Instagram is Stay Strong. It's _Krupp.
Okay. Amazing. And then
Jeannette is my first name.
Jeannette.
I think it pulls up that way too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I need to evidently start a TikTok. All my athletes keep telling me I need to start TikTok.
TikTok does
for
help.
the ride.
No,
that's
seriously.
where it's at, Coach. But I haven't yet. But I'll probably just Stay Strong Krupp. Keep with that name.
That would be a great way to do it. And you can update, basically every day.
That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
Keep it all updated on my ride.
Well, I think that's actually a fantastic idea. Wow. Yes. Well, Jeannette, thank you again. I truly appreciate it. And, I seriously, I can't thank you enough. And thank you for coming on the podcast and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
All right. Bye.